Hello and welcome to the Clout and Blue podcast post-match reaction. Just about on time, aren't we? I think the delay was, just to be very quick, we're just trying to confirm before we started, Matt, by consulting with the rule book. Are we winning the lot?
I thought so, yeah. That's what we're doing, mate. We're just flicking through the history books to find 1957, was it? The last
Something
time
like that, yeah.
Anybody ever mention that? I've just looked down the comments and some smutty little needs to wash their filthy mind out saying Matt's just cleaning himself up after Asensio's cameo.
Okay.
Not too far from the truth, but it didn't quite get to those levels. But it was a very exciting night at Villa Park.
It was indeed, yeah. I mean, the scoreline absolutely flatters Spurs, doesn't it, really? I mean, 2-1 is a result that looks a lot closer than it was, and Spurs had their moments where they had not control, but I thought, oh no, here we go. We're kind of letting them back into this a little bit, but never really threatened, I don't think, enough to make me kind of concerned of, oh, we're going to throw this away. I mean, the last couple of minutes of added time after their score, I was like, oh no, what's just going to happen here? I can't stand sitting in this cold anymore. But overall, I've put it in the title in a rush as I've only literally got through the door. Aston Villa comfortably beat Spurs. Did you feel it was a comfortable beating despite it only being 2-1?
I felt it was a comfortable beating until they pulled a goal back. Because I tell you what I found was really interesting. We'll jump all over the place chronologically, I'm sure. But I thought at the start of the second half, we didn't actually particularly start that well.
Yeah.
Then we got the goal. Obviously, just I think Asensio and Rashford were already stripped and ready to come on when we scored the second goal. And then it was so sumptuous, sublime, scintillating, swashbuckling that my usual doubts creeping in that, we could leave the back door open or whatever. I didn't feel that. I started to feel it a little bit when we started playing the Ole football and chanting Ole. I don't like that. I know that's me being a killjoy, but it really makes me paranoid.
You spoke about that before, haven't you, I think? So I was going to say that surprises me, but I'm sure we've spoken about that before.
Yeah, I don't like it. I just think it's a recipe for disaster, but it didn't prove to be. But we were so good, and some of the football we were playing was so sparkling that it kind of took my mind off. I thought, well, my son said, don't worry, Dad, this is a different Aston Villa. Then obviously we go and concede a goal just after the board's gone up for stoppage time. And I said, it's never a different Aston Villa. Our Aston Villa still always lurks within. But no, we got the job done. I think, in a long-winded answer to your question, I think ultimately it was comfortable. I didn't think they were very good, but I thought at times we were brilliant.
Yeah, definitely had our moments of like, it's the kind of things we said before. And when we did that episode in the office earlier in the week, of that kind of frustration feeling that some have of like, we know how good we can be. Like, you see it in those moments, that kind of counter attack that I think Rashford puts through to Ramsey or the vice. I can't remember. There was a couple actually that was like, we're playing some really good stuff. And I get that you can't play to that level of intensity for 90 minutes, but if we could just do it a bit more, we are going to play games where we score 3 and be comfortable. And yes, defences are still an issue, and we'll talk about that. I mean, not an issue tonight, but I mean, the players that we have available, there are going to be instances where we do concede 2. But if we start taking some of these chances that we create and we get into such good positions, if we do find that finishing touch, then we will get to distracted by the comments. Damn you, Dan Bardell. I knew it was going to be you that distracted me. If we can just get to that kind of finishing touch, we can kind of click and be a really, really good team. Dan's comment was first time watcher. That's a lie. When did Kendrick get a professional podcast set up? All I thought he said was, when will he get one? I was about to go, he's got a very good setup, thank you very much. But you're a pro now, aren't you?
Dan who, sorry? I've heard the name.
He's on Sky, I think. And
when it's rammed in my ears and my eyes, but yeah, never encountered him before. Shout out to our number one fan. Nice to see you tuning in, Daniel.
He's probably been waiting since 9 o'clock when this video said it was going to go live. That's just an estimate, guys, all right? Don't shoot me, all right?
Yeah. It's bad enough me having beef with Drake, let alone me having beef with Bardell as well. It's all I've heard about this week, my beef with Drake again. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving swiftly on. A start then, trying to make this a little bit chronological by the team selection. I said in the preview that I would have been surprised to see Rashford and Asensio come in and start. Marlon was definitely going to, because of Watkins not playing, and was going to be the number 9. Garcia was also going to play, given Cash's injury. So I thought 2 new signings, that's still for Emery, that's kind of throwing them in early. So I didn't expect Asensio and Rashford to start, but I did see a bit of a reaction of like, no, it's the FA Cup. Like, why aren't we playing all these good players? But for me, I never expected that. I thought McGinn might play on the right. I didn't think he was going to play centrally, but obviously Nana also unavailable again. He's one of those, isn't he, Matt? That F1 analogy. The engine keeps breaking down. We're never going to see how good he is because he just never gets into the team. So I thought McGinn would play on the right. I was surprised to see Bailey, but McGinn plays central, so Bailey kind of has to play it unless you're going to throw one of those new lads in. But I didn't think they were going to. So the team was what I thought it was going to be, and I was happy with it. I thought this is strong enough to beat whatever Spurs put out. And to be fair, their first 11 was decent. There's some good players in there. Obviously, they've got their injury problems, which is absolutely spoken about much more than Villa, who are kind of fast forwarding here, ending the game with 2 holding midfielders as their centre half pairing. But beyond the first 11, their bench had nothing compared to ours. So I felt relatively comfortable at Team News that this is an 11 and a squad that can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, how hard can it be to play centre half anyway? Because everyone's having a crack at it now, aren't they? So and doing pretty well as well. To be honest,
injury or two, and you are genuinely going to have to dust your boots off.
Oh, blimey, I don't know about that. It's I was going to say something. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that route. It was going to involve my moves, but I don't want to say anything more about it. What was there a question in there? Just about really. The starting lineup.
The 11 looked good enough to get the job done. Was my initial feeling.
Yeah, well, after 57 seconds, they definitely looked good enough to get the job done. I thought it was going to be one of those 4-0 up by half-time jobs again. But there's some brilliant. I don't want to preempt the sparkly NordVPN graphic and voiceover and stuff, but there's some lots of really, really good performances today, all across the team. And should we do it now? Should we get it out of the way?
Okay, then let me line up the button. I didn't think you were going to throw
I'll get you to answer yours first, though, because I'm probably going to say about 9 or 10 of them. So,
okay.
It's everybody's favourite section. It's time for the Man of the Match award, and we're going to pick our top 3 in order. And if there wasn't 3 good players, it's a bit of tough shit, isn't it?
Once again, absolutely more than 3 players we can pick from. I like this new format, by the way. There was a few doubters for me for changing this format a few weeks ago, but I mean, everyone loves it now. With comments are rolling in the second with all their picks. Yeah, so it'll be a lovely little experience. So we're going to pick a top 3. First place gets 3 points. Second place gets 2. Third place gets 1. Over the course of the season, we'll add those scores up and be able to work out from our reactions straight after full time who we thought was our actual best player throughout the season. We started this at the turn of the year, so we'll have it from then onwards. I'm going to start. I'm not going to give you my 3 straight away because I want it to be a bit of a back and forth. But I think in what order, I'm not sure yet. McGinn is an absolute shoo-in for the top 3. Potentially even straight in at top 1, to be honest. I thought, as we've said about, let's just cross over that little swear there. I think. I
don't know why it even caused me so much alarm.
No, literally doesn't matter. I think. We've said it plenty of times before, but when McGinn plays well, Villa play well. And that is a little bit of a cliche. It becomes that, McGinn played well, so Villa played well. But there's a lot of and some of this fair. Villa have progressed so far now. I'm not sure what McGinn's role is. I don't see where he fits into this team. And then he goes and puts in a performance in today in central midfield next to Tielemans, when again, that's probably not his first choice position. I do prefer him a little bit further forward or out on the right or whatever. But just puts in a great performance that sets the tone, and that's the John McGinn that we love and needs to be at that level to push us on to finish in Europe or win the FA Cup or whatever this season's aspirations are.
I think it says a lot about McGinn, really, because I think we've said before when he's played deeper, it almost kind of inhibits him and it doesn't allow him to, stride forward with a ball, I suppose, and to really make things happen in an attacking sense. But given what we've now got in front of him, I suppose
it's kind of not his job anymore, is it, to be that guy to carry us forward? But getting on the ball and shielding and kind of giving us that bit of protection, probably something that Kamara at the moment isn't offering us because he's not playing there. To have someone who can kind of get their body in the way and get us kind of get a bit of control, I suppose, is something that we've not got elsewhere. So McGinn, kind of, as much as he keeps getting shot down as when is his time at Villa going to come to an end, he keeps popping up with a performance that makes you go, well, he's still got loads to give.
Yeah, I think funny, we said earlier, didn't we, when you've got how can you put it, a very patched up back 4 at the moment, having somebody with McGinn's experience now and his character. And he can do that. He can throw that kind of protective blanket in front of the back four, and he did that. But I think the good thing about McGinn is he's pretty selfless as well. I think he'll do what's needed, and I think he knows as well. He knows when he can stick that big backside out, turn, spin his man, and then kind of stride forward. But he also knows when, let's just keep possession, let's just kind of keep the ball moving and give it to somebody, probably somebody who can create more attacking damage now. I thought he was really good. My next shout was going to be Morgan Rogers. I think did he get it on the TV? I'm not sure whether he got.
I don't know. Potentially.
I saw him being interviewed with Jacob Ramsey on the pitch after the match. 11 goals apparently now he scored this season, which is pretty impressive figures, because we probably, we're critical, aren't we, when he blows from hot to cold, and there have been a few occasions where he's not been able to maintain those standards. But tonight was one of those ones, kind of Morgan Rogers on the half turn, and that little move down the right when he played the kind of couple of 1-2s with Asensio, and Asensio's trapped it with a brilliant touch, a little back heel flick to Rogers. Rogers had given the ball back with a little nutmeg of the defender. All it was missing was seeing the net bulge rather than the side netting bulge. But those moments, you stop and you think, blimey, we've got we're just blessed at the moment. And I won't harp back on it too much, but I was intrigued to think the last time we got through to the fifth round, and I think it was 2015, the year we got smashed in the final against Arsenal. And 10 years ago tomorrow, we lost 2-0 away at Hull. It was Lambo's last stand. And, I had a little look down some of the players that were playing that night, and I don't want to be stuck in the past for too long. It was just to almost show you the comparison of where you're at now. And I don't really mean to dig out. I don't want to be too harsh, because the players that were playing for us then were the players that, I suppose, that summed up where we were back then. But you've got Guzan and Sissoko and Carlos Gil, and I think Andy Weimann, big friend of our show, so I'm not trying to dig him out, but Andy Weimann was starting.
And any of the others friends of the show, if they want to come on, by the way, but if they're listening.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't
friends of the
show. Listen, we're a friendly bunch, to be honest, so I'll shut up there. I won't slag off 2015 Aston Villa, just in case we can get some of you to come on and talk about the reality of 2015 Aston Villa. But we've come a long way, Dan, and seeing the players, seeing Marcus Rashford in a Villa shirt. Bizarre,
can we hold off on the Rashford just for a second?
Well, I want to have my tea, so I'm going to try and get them all in this one sentence, to be honest. So, go on.
Just on the FA Cup as a whole, I know we're still picking our man of the match, and we'll come back to the third pick in a second.
That,
Yeah, I knew you had. I was trying to guess with my dad on the way back about when was the last time we got to the fifth round. Obviously, knowing that it would have been the year that we got to the final 10 years ago, but the one before that, and I was guessing we got to the semi-final of the FA Cup in 2010, the same year we got to the League Cup final. It was probably then, because I feel like we've had such a terrible record of being always the third round, potentially the fourth. I had a quick look since getting back. We got to the fifth round, obviously where we are now, when we got to the final against Arsenal. In 10-11, we got to the fifth round and lost to Man City. I don't know if you remember that one. The year before, when we got to the semis against Chelsea. Before that, 08-09 and 05-06, we got to the fifth round. Before that, the last time we got to the fifth round or beyond was the final in 2000. So, given we only get to finals in multiples of 0 or 5, 2015, 2000, 2010, and we never progress past the fifth round. But when we do, more often than not, we go all the way to the final. Is this the year that we combine those two stats? And because we've got this far, obviously the draw is Monday night, I think. Another decent draw, especially at home. Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham now, Arsenal all out. Man United are absolutely beatable. Man City had a scare, but they're still Man City. I think if you look at the sides that are left, and we'll talk about this, either before the draw is done tomorrow or afterwards. Like a Newcastle away, wouldn't fancy that. Wolves away, wouldn't fancy that because we lose. It feels like every time anyway. A Bournemouth would be difficult, But if they get a decent draw next, especially at home, all of a sudden you're in a quarter final. And I know we got the Champions League and the Premier League to go for, but then you really start to, if we're not already, taking it seriously. And it feels like it might just open up a little bit.
Yeah, I think they should just start inscribing our name on the trophy right now. But using pencil, pencils that have got a little rubber on the end. Just use that, just in case we get Man United away, or just in case. Although I'd probably fancy us to go and beat Man United. The law of the land and the laws of football doesn't necessarily, literally the laws of football doesn't necessarily mean that what you think is going to happen will happen with Man United. I think it's a really big opportunity, and I've not checked the fixture calendar too far.
I have.
In the future. But how does it balance in terms of Champions League and FA Cup games?
So the weekend of the 1st of March will be the 5th round. If we found, just done all that, 5th round. So that is the weekend of. So obviously there were some games I think on the Friday night, and I probably should play Tuesday. I don't know why that is. There must be a certain reason for that. But it'll be that weekend. Villa play their first leg in the round of 16 in the following midweek, so the 4th or the 5th. Then I think we play Brentford on the weekend, and then the second leg of the Champions League. And then we would have played Liverpool, and then it's international break. But now that Liverpool game has been moved to February, we'll have Champions League second leg, and then a big break for the international break, and not playing that weekend. Then when we come back from the international break, it'll be the quarter-final of the FA Cup, if we were to get there, before you play a league game. So it's before the first leg of the Champions League, the next round of the FA Cup, it would be that weekend. Villa will play on the Tuesday or Wednesday, so I assume we'll be playing the Friday or the Saturday in the FA Cup, depending if it works like that. So a home tie would be nice. I think we're away first in the Champions League. But then you if you can get through that, focus on the Champions League separately, you're not playing at the weekend, you can put everything into that second leg. But also I don't want it to be the fact that we get a difficult draw in the 5th round. I think, forget the FA Cups, we've got Champions League on Tuesday. We're now in a position to take the FA Cup seriously as well. So it will be difficult to balance that. But hopefully by March, maybe Konsa isn't as serious as they think, or they hope he isn't. A couple of weeks, maybe, whatever. Mings could be back. Torres could be back. Cash could be back even, although Garcia looks like he could be pretty tidy. We'll get to him in a sec. Rashford could have hit great form by then anyway. So it looks a little bit, that could be quite difficult. But it's another month away, so we'll see how we are then. But that's kind of how it falls.
Yeah, I think this is really probably go around the houses explaining this, but since Rashford's come to Villa from Man United, there's been a lot of, and this is probably me getting triggered too easily by things, but what a step down going to Aston Villa.
From national media and pundits.
I think Roy Keane and Mark Pugash were saying it the other day. You see a lot of it. I've seen bits of it on social media anyway. And you're thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've been told, me and FA Cup traditionalist and somebody who wants to win things and really respects the domestic trophies, being told that Champions League is everything. Qualifying for the Champions League is everything. And don't get me wrong, I'm loving the journey. I'm really, really enjoying the adventure. But people are almost trying to put Villa back in their box by saying, you've not won anything since 1996. All you've done is qualify for the Champions League. So United fans are trying to, and I get it, because we're probably the same with Duran. Why have you gone there? Although it's a very different conversation. And I think, well, actually, we are in the Champions League. I think we will be in Europe again next year, although I don't think it will necessarily be in the Champions League. I still think to really, really hammer home the fact that the Emery,
we're back, basically.
To prove that we're back. We clearly are back, but you need to ratify that with silverware. And I actually think that, I'm not saying you toss off the Champions League last 16 to put everything into the FA Cup, but I do think a couple of opportunities are opening up for us now. And I think the squad that we've got, there's my bedtime alarm telling me I'm going to go to bed soon.
Wow. Oh, that's old, isn't it? It's 10 o'clock.
Not even had my bath.
Don't
start the Tim Bath thing again.
Have you got your pajamas on the radiator ready to get all cozy?
Just got to kind of sort my talcum powder out.
Got to toss off the Champions League first.
Do what, sorry?
He said you were just going to toss off the Champions League first.
I only heard the toss off first. I thought, where you going with that? Anyway, what was I saying? We need a trophy. We need a trophy. Getting into the bloody Champions League, finishing the top 8. People aren't still taking us seriously. Not that I really care, but I clearly do care.
You do
Let's
care,
go and win something. We'll have been in the Champions League. We'll have won something. We'll prove beyond all reasonable doubt that we are well and truly back.
But I don't think you can. I totally agree from a Villa fan perspective. Winning something will put all the Blues fans doing what they did to Newcastle and ultimately losing was like, at least we've won something in our lifetimes and all that kind of stuff. It would put all that to bed. You don't want anything since it was black and white. It'd be good to get that done, obviously, and that winning something would be amazing. The feeling of it would be incredible. I've not even experienced it apart from the playoff final, which is obviously not even comparable, and that was bloody good. Like, I love that. But I think from a media perspective or pundits or whatever, I think winning silverware would come with some kind of trade-off, that it would be that we drop down to the Conference League, or we don't get Europe at all, or whatever, or Martinez ends up leaving because he wanted Champions League. Something will come at the cost of it. I think that then the punditry would be, well, they won something, but they're not even in Europe now, or they lost one of their best players because Europe's everything. So I don't think you can win from a kind of pundit perspective. There's always something to kind of put little Aston Villa back in their place in their book and give more airtime to 15th place Tottenham or wherever they are, and 14th place Man United or wherever they are, because they're the big boys that bring in all the eyes and stuff. They don't really care or have noticed that things have moved on since then, and other clubs kind of deserve their flowers.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The winning of the FA Cup or any other trophy would give me greater pleasure than just shutting up the rest of
yeah.
Sound like Steve Bruce did, the rest of the football world or whatever it was. But I do think the time has come. Like you said, we have got a generation who are not used to winning stuff, and I got a curtain haircut the last time that we won something in 1996, and the curtains are very much open. No, and everybody can see it. So it's an opportunity. I'm sure the draw tomorrow that'll be made. Is it being made halfway through the one show or something? I'm sure that'll, Roman Kemp or whoever Alex Jones, whoever pulls the balls out, will stitch us up, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a few people suggesting that winning the FA Cup gets you into Europe. Of course, yeah, I think it's Europa League, isn't it? So if Villa were to finish 10th, win the FA Cup and get in the Europa League, that's a very successful season still, because we keep banging on about being in Europe every year is where we want to be. So yeah, absolutely. I still think a route to the Champions League is on. I don't think we're a million miles away. And if what we've seen saw today, and it's a very small sample size, from Asensio and Rashford being 25 minutes against in a confident Villa that have literally just scored, is very different to seeing them kind of be run ragged by a side and have to come on and change the game or whatever. So we'll kind of wait and see. But if those guys can click, I think the only thing kind of stopping Villa at the moment, besides their defensive options, is confidence. It feels like it's just finding that finishing touch. It's Leon Bailey scoring a couple of goals and all of a sudden he looks like a world beater again, and that's what gets Villa up the table. Or it's those little things that we create 4 chances, only score 1 and don't win. Well, one game we'll score all 4 and we'll win and we'll climb the table, and then you're really close to the Champions League, because it's going to be 5th place. So I'm not writing that off yet. I just think it is going to be difficult to juggle that, the Champions League and the FA Cup, and something will give somewhere, injuries or whatever. But there's absolutely still something to play for. Do you remember back at Christmas when we lost a few games? It's like, the season's over. Does anyone still feel like the season's over now we're where we are? It's, we told you to calm down, didn't we? So hopefully you did. Because there's still loads to play for. Alexander said, "How's the man of the match going?" Should we pick another contender for that?
Which match?
So we've got McGinn is in there, Rodgers is in there. I think a shout for Ramsey as the other goal scorer, who's also played well. I mean, it's difficult to narrow it down to 3, because I thought Kamara did well, considering, again, not his position, loses his actual defender next to him to a youngster and still plays well throughout. Dean, not a shout in the top 3 for a man of the match, but again, just consistent, gets on with his job, plays well. I'm not going to give shouts for man of the match to Rashford and Asensio, but coming off the bench and just looking like quality players, and we'll come back to them in a sec. I thought Marlon played really well as well, and he's looked a threat tonight and in the second half, or however long it was, against Wolves. He's going to be a good talent for us. Not in the Champions League, but whisper that quietly. Garcia looks a very tidy right back. I was really impressed with him. So it could be one of any of those, I think. But as the goal scorers, I think Ramsey and Rodgers get in my top 3 with McGinn. That's what I would pick.
Not so easy, is it? See, Unai Emery's had to do this, get all these fantastic players into 3. It's not as easy as it looks. We can't get them into 3, can we? I thought a word for Marlon, actually. I thought he looked hungry. There's one moment very early on in the game where he's gone and chased a lost cause, and I think we got a free kick off the back of it. Another moment where he's had to put himself about to keep the ball, a couple of shoulder barges in the middle of the pitch. If there's any worries, I know it's very early days, but if there's any worries about how he'd respond, I thought he responded really well.
Yeah, that's the way to go, isn't it? You don't sulk and throw your toys out the pram. You score a goal and say, well, I don't care if that's Marcus Rashford breathing down my neck for this position. It's mine.
I thought he led the line well, considering I'm not sure that centre forward is probably his strongest position. I thought he did a good job. I thought he worked hard. A couple of chances that he couldn't quite take. Obviously got the assist. I think it was probably just about his assist. It was a bit of a ball pinging around a little bit for the second goal, but he did well for that as well. So I thought he was really good. I won't go through the whole team, but just a couple more. Garcia, I do think was really, really impressive. I thought he looked really comfortable. Didn't overplay, but again, seemed confident as well. I thought Bogart did a good job when he came on as well. Considering that was a thrown together central defensive duo.
Mid-game as well. Like, even if you planned all week to play Bogard and Kamara, it's not ideal to get it. I mean, not really spoken about concert. If that is more than a month or 2, or a month or 5 or 6 weeks, that's going to be really difficult to contend with, even if Mings comes back next week, or obviously Disasi couldn't play tonight and can't play against Chelsea, but he'll be an option as well. So it's not going to be the end of the world, but when it rains, it pours, doesn't it, when it comes to injuries?
Yeah, and I think on Ramsey as well, I thought he played really well. I think he probably could have joined Rodgers on 11 goals if he'd have taken all his chances tonight, and he's actually got 3. It was funny though, because the one he scored, just didn't,
Kidd should have saved it
straight through the goalie who should have saved it. But I do like him, Ramsey. I think a couple of times he really probably should have taken a couple more chances, but he's got a spring in his step at the moment. I think that's going to be interesting. I think having both him and I know Rashford plays centre forward, but imagine when Watkins fit, Rashford will play off the left. And again, we said that in his pre-match presser. It's really interesting having both of those options. I think we'll approach the position in a really different way. But like you said, Villa have shown glimpses that when they get it right, they can really get it right. Why can't, if only they could do that all the time. This is life. This is real football. This is not FIFA, so it's not going to happen all the time. The benefit we've got now that we didn't have 2 weeks ago is when things aren't quite working, we've got proper replacements in every position except central defence. At the moment, that's probably, and right back, because we've got Matty Cash injured. But I think we've got real options now, and I think that should give us the encouragement and the fact that it is approaching the business end of the season to say, go on, let's go and really do something this year.
Yeah. A couple of questions I've asked about whether Rashford could play against Man United in the FA Cup if that was a draw that was to happen. Honestly, I don't know. I assumed not, because generally speaking, a loan can't play against their parent club. I know they can in Europe, which has always been a bit of a strange one. Like Illing Jr. played, didn't he, for Bologna against us and that kind of thing. And Coutinho played against Bayern Munich when he was for Barcelona, or the other way around. I can't remember. It's late, and I don't care about Coutinho anymore. In the Premier League, like Disasi can't play against Chelsea in the Premier League in a couple of weeks because of that. If it was an FA Cup game, I don't know. I assume it's the same, but don't take that as gospel. Let's not have another UEFA squad rules confusion here. I don't know is the honest answer. I would assume he couldn't. Hopefully we don't play Man United anyway. That would be my preference. Then we don't have that headache. Man of the match then. McGinn, Rodgers, Ramsey. Are they the 3?
For the purposes of just moving on with our lives, go for it.
Okay, fair enough. And honourable mentions to basically everybody else, but no points on this scoring system. Let's talk about Asensio and Rashford then. Both coming on in a good moment, to coin a football phrase. Villa literally just scored. The substitution was being prepared anyway. The double sub when Rodgers took that second goal, which again was a bit of a goal that shouldn't really have happened. Like, all for it for Villa scoring is great. The first one, keeper should save it, regardless of how hard Ramsey's hit it. Keeper absolutely has to do better with that. And the second one, I felt like the chance had gone by what Bailey was kind of running down a blind alley, it felt like, and then Marlon puts it across, I think. Spurs failed to clear pretty comically, and Rodgers is there in the right place to put it away. But again, is a goal that is Spurs being bad rather than Villa being amazing. Like, if that was against us, you go, two soft goals, really. But yeah, that's football. Rashford and Asensio then come on at 2-0. It's like, oh, okay, that's a flex, isn't it? Like, so, I mean, when you consider like where we've been and where we've come to now, to go 2-0 up against fellow Premier League opposition and be able to bring on Rashford and Asensio, like, oh yeah, these two lads can just have a run around as well. And be interesting, I felt, is probably the nicest way of putting it. Rashford looked up for it, looked hungry, not the player that we've been told is just going to walk around and sulk. And again, some of that could be, and as yet we don't know because it's 25 minutes, he's just playing for a contract, or he's playing to suck up to Barcelona or whatever. Don't care. If he plays well for Villa and Villa achieve something, Rashford can do what he wants. If that's by playing well, we benefit from that. Asensio comes on and he's just got that thing of like, I don't know how to quantify this rather than just saying like, he just looks like he's played at good clubs before. Like the way he moves with the ball is like, oh yeah, you can tell he's like been doing it for Real Madrid. Or do you know what I mean? Does that sound stupid?
No, it doesn't sound stupid.
It does. But do you know what I mean? Like the way he flicked the ball and the way he kind of carried himself had that like presence of like, oh, that's a Real Madrid player playing for Villa.
Yeah, he's slinky a word, or is that thing that goes down the stairs?
It's both, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very slinky, and there's just something when players are a class above. We got some brilliant players, some brilliant players, but I would say that we said it before that Kamara and Tielemans, to me, probably exude the most class. Rodgers is brilliant because he's just a powerhouse and he's so strong and so quick and so dynamic. The thing about Asensio was it's just things like the weight of pass.
Yeah.
You know, he never, I've only seen him play for bloody 25 minutes for Aston Villa, but there's sometimes even who you think are tried and trusted, established first team Premier League players, they don't put the ball into space the way that he did. And this, like you said, I think he carried himself with a certain swagger.
Because what they've done at Real Madrid or PSG or Man United or whatever it's not irrelevant, but I'm going to judge them on what they do for Aston Villa here and now. And it's 25 minutes in, we're winning the game. Like it's different, right? But just that, like a few people in the comments saying things like cultured or class or just having that like presence about them. It's just like they're used to playing with good players, so they've been able to like hone their craft by not just like working hard or being gritty. It's like, well, you're playing against like, or you're playing with Ronaldo and whoever else to be like, well, I've got to raise my game to a certain level. And yes, they could come into Villa and think, well, I'm bigger than this or I'm better than this and I'm not going to put it in. It comes on a little roulette or whatever you want to call it in a back heel. And it looks a bit flashy, but it's just like another level that we're not quite used to, despite the good players that we've got to come in with that like pedigree. If that can click and the confidence is there and people stay fit, you can definitely see like a good combination of Watkins running channels with Rashford running in behind and Ramsey cutting in, Rodgers carrying the ball forward, Asensio drifting in and kind of stringing things together. If you can sort that defence out and get some confidence at the other end, then there's a really kind of like dangerous setup that Villa have got. Can he do it at Bournemouth on a foggy night on Tuesday, though, Rob says? We don't know yet. Maybe not, but hopefully yes.
It wasn't that warm and
I was going to say it's foggy.
Mediterranean inside Villa Park today, but I take your point. Is this the same club that signed Grant Holt?
It is, yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? It is.
No, I thought it was class. He did put one free kick straight into the first man, so I'm not going to anoint him as Villa's greatest ever player just yet. He's clearly human. But no, it was brilliant. And Rashford as well. I mean, the thing that I loved about it was he wasn't overawed about playing for a big club. Rashford.
Finally,
I was a little bit worried, a little bit worried how he'd react to it from going.
He'd had another step up.
Yeah, those mid-table no marks to a team with designs on winning everything. But yeah, he did. Listen, if he's playing for a contract, he's playing for his future, and Villa are a stepping stone to somewhere else. But the result is that it gets us further up the table, and we do land a European spot this season, and we do go and win the FA Cup, and we do go and win the Champions League. Then I'm willing to be used. Use us. To be honest, I did. I heard a little bit of the Do Our Diddy with Rashford's name in.
Quite a lot of that, yeah.
It obviously got. I saw one Rashford number 9 shirt down the front of the Trinity. I think we'll flog quite a few, to be honest.
I was at the club shop and the mannequin was wearing Rashford 9. Obviously, yeah. Fickle any that mannequin.
I've said to my son, we can probably salvage the A, the R, and the D from his Duran shirt, but we'll just have to use Tipex for the rest. I ain't going to get him a new shirt, so unless he wants to have a fight with a mannequin.
I actually was in JD today, and they're on offer, the shirts. The away shirt's only 40 quid. This isn't an advert for JD, by the way, but 40 quid for the shirt. It's basically half price, isn't it? It's 80 quid at the start of the season.
Yeah, this is brought to you by NordVPN, not JD. The abbreviation you need is VPN, preceded by Nord.
But if you use NordVPN and go to the JD website, you might get an even greater discount. So, subscribe to NordVPN, everybody.
Where are we? What next?
I don't know. I think we're probably done, to be honest. I've talked about what I feel like is enough for this evening. Obviously, we do a Q&A every Monday. It might be Tuesday this week because we're doing this so late on a Sunday. But anything else that we don't cover tonight, we'll discuss in the next episode as we build up to Ipswich as well at the back end of the week. Is there anything else that jumps out that we've not spoken about yet? I feel like we've covered most things.
Just quickly, I wasn't massively impressed with the halftime show.
Oh, the speaking to kids thing.
Yeah.
Did you hear the one about Argentina?
Yeah. I mean, do you think those kids were really from Buenos Aires, or do you think they were just from Erdington putting on a funny voice?
Oh, I don't know.
It was funny though when he asked him for his favourite player. He said Messi. I didn't mean that
as well.
But
Mickey Mouse there as well. Great Mickey Mouse impression. Yeah, I don't know. Villa are trying different things, I suppose, but yeah, do I really want to hear kids say, "Oh, it's going to be 2-1"? Not really. Although bang on, actually.
Do we think that was part of like the kind of Villa TV coverage, though? Do you think that when we're going to go around the ground,
maybe potentially, yeah, like part of their halftime live stream thing?
Yeah, I wonder if it's that. Maybe. Although I thought Mystic Russ Morris, when somebody said Morgan Rogers was the same favourite player, he said, "Oh, and he's on the score sheet today." Well, not yet, but
yeah, maybe Prize Where It Lies was cup tied.
Well, I've decided I'm going to start calling it PWIL as a little abbreviation.
Okay, yeah.
Don't know why. Just thought I'm going to call it.
As we know, the only abbreviation you need is NordVPN. So don't worry about any of this.
Exactly. I see what you've done. The only other amusing thing that amused me was because the configuration of Villa Park was different, and Spurs had the usual away part of the north stand, of the Whitton, didn't they? Of the Doug Ellis, and then the upper north stand. I think, did you see Tal go over at the end and he gave his shirt to a Villa fan?
No,
I think he thought he must have heard some Spurs noise coming from the north stand end. So he must have thought that they got the upper and the lower. And he ended up giving his shirt to a Villa fan.
To be fair, he did well to throw it up and north, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, he clearly couldn't tell.
Nice. Yeah, good.
He did actually do it. I didn't just fabricate that whole scenario just for a really bad pun. But there we go.
Did you, just quickly, and this is not serious football conversation because we don't do that here, but what did you make of the Spurs, like, Levy out kind of like, because we've obviously been in that position before. I said to my dad, like, "Oh God, you remember the learner out chance and stuff, like, again, how far we've come." And we were talking a little bit about like when we got promoted, Spurs away, wasn't it? It was our first game going to that big flashy stadium. McGinn scored early. Oh, maybe we can. Oh no, we can't cut it here because Spurs. Like, how far behind are we for them? They've just been in the Champions League final. Well, they were in the Champions League final that year. No, before, I think. we've been like the time that we've been away from the Premier League, we're so far away from being able to get to these guys. And 5 years later, we've finished above them 2 years in a row, getting into Europe in both those seasons. We will. I mean, this is not a controversial take. We will finish above Spurs this year as well. Although, as I'm saying it, I'm starting to think, oh, what if that? No, we'll finish above them again. Whether that's enough for Europe or not, we don't know. But we're now ahead of Spurs. We're now talking about Rashford taking a step up to Man United in a serious way. Like some people will consider, yeah, but still Manchester United. This is Manchester United we're talking about. Yeah, but for where they are at the moment with the manager and the squad and the owners, Villa is a step up and a better place to play your football essentially than Man United and Spurs, clubs that it felt like Villa were miles behind. So, in a kind of roundabout point, firstly, how far we've come, but also Spurs are now having that thing of, bad ownership. And I don't know the full story really. I mean, they spend some money and have good players and have that good stadium, etc. But they're clearly unhappy. Levy out was in the first couple of minutes, and yes, they're already losing at that point. But apparently they were doing it the other week when they were winning against Brentford or someone like that. Somebody said. But it's a pretty weird position, isn't it, to try and progress your football club as best you can, but your owner feels like you're hamstringing it, and as fans, you can't really do anything about it. And Postecoglou, you're getting sacked in the morning, all that stuff. Like, how many managers have Spurs had? Is that the problem? I don't know. It just feels a bit of a mess, doesn't it? I mean, whether you care, I don't know. Probably not.
I don't care massively, but what I would say is that football's very cyclical, isn't it? So you've got to keep on doing it. You've got to keep doing it, keep doing it. So there's nothing to say that I'm not sure whether Postecoglou will, well, according to the chance at Villa Park, I'm not sure he'll survive the morning, let alone be given another season at it. But it doesn't mean write them off forever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So if they think things are bleak, we went through this patch in 2006 to 2015, 2016, really. So we had 10 years of going from thinking we were really going to compete, the rug being pulled, to swirling the plug hole of the Premier League. Now, Spurs haven't got to that level yet. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to be in danger of relegation. I know they're probably a bit too close for it for their own liking. So I'm not really going to cry too much for them, to be honest, because, we've waited our turn. Under O'Neill, we thought that it was very close. We were challenging Harry Redknapp Spurs at the time, I think, to try and make that leap into the top four. They dabbled with it a little bit. And then, lo and behold, however many years later, they're finding it hard to get back up there. Tough titty. Can I say that at this time of night?
Yeah, good.
Tough titty. We've been on our own journey, and we're there. We're in a place where we think we should be. So, listen, I'm sure Spurs have got their own podcast. Well, they have. They've got the Golden Guest Show that's brought to us by our colleagues at Football London. But
also sponsored by NordVPN.
I think it is also sponsored by. Actually, I think they were the ones who They got us the sponsor. To be fair, so I'm all for Spurs. And actually, I'm travelling down to Canary Wharf tomorrow to see my friends at Football London. So I don't want to slag off Spurs anymore. I just want to get off this podcast and go and have my tea.
I mean, if they're going to continue languishing around in the bottom half, I'm leaving Postecoglou in. Are you?
Keep him in, yeah.
Yeah, keep him in. Right, I think that's enough for this one. You can go off, have your bath and bedtime milk before you go to bed for an early start. Thanks to everyone who watched along live on YouTube. 1,000 people still watching at 10:30 on a Sunday evening.
Fair play to you. What I wanted to mention.
Go on.
Anthony Taylor.
Oh, do we have to?
Just how long it took to book anybody?
Yeah, is he not supposed to be like one of our best referees? Like, he's in cup finals and in European matches and international tournaments and stuff, and yet you can't seem to remember to book players for what are genuine bookings, and gives free kicks that aren't free kicks, lets things go that actually probably were free kicks, and just a shambles of a performance again after the Duran stuff, obviously, as well with Newcastle, same referee. It's just, if he's the best we've got, we're in serious trouble.
But do we think that in a sliding doors moment, him sending off Duran stopped Duran becoming the main man over Christmas, New Year, throughout January, meant that we kept Ollie Watkins, Duran went, Asensio, the greatest ever Aston Villa footballer who's ever walked the earth, arrived, along with Marcus Rashford? Do you think that we need to give him credit for setting in motion this chain of events?
Potentially. Are we saying that how we started this podcast that we're winning a lot? Are we saying thank you, Anthony Taylor? You done a spiffing job.
Well, I did think, because it did take him a long time to book anybody, and I thought,
Yeah.
I did think, a bald man without cards? Have we ever seen that before? And then I realised it's Valentine's Day, innit? On Friday. Oh, I'm going to bed.
Right, thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Climbing Podcast. We massively appreciate your support as always. Matt Kendrick, thank you for everything except the last 30 seconds. That was pish. Appreciate your contributions as always. We are going to do a Q&A. Sam, we're getting distracted again. This is now terrible for me. And you're going to do something stupid at the end of this as well. I can tell the way you're moving. We are doing a Q&A on Monday or Tuesday. So if you want to get involved with that when this video ends as a live stream, scroll down to the comments and leave your questions in there as well. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Climbing Podcast. And we'll see you next time.
Merry Christmas.